this meeting. Give us what are some of the expectations that you think will come out of this memorandum of understanding.
So one thing that we are promoting as Uganda and from the president's side is the East African community and the brotherhood between our sister countries within the East African community. So for us in the business community, we're carrying forward this particular spirit of cooperation among the citizens of East Africa. But besides that, we know very well that the investments that are needed to be made are quite heavy. They are big, they require a lot of money, they require a lot of skills, and they require a lot of things. So we think that our two countries, our business people from Tanzania and Uganda can best benefit from these businesses by coming together so that they increase their capacity, they increase their skill, and then they are able to deliver the projects that are there and make the money that is supposed to be made. So this is what local content is all about.
And then finally, how prepared are your people? I am now speaking the language of the private sector. How prepared are the people in the private sector to grab such a brilliant opportunity?
Yes, the private sector in Uganda has had a number of years to prepare for this moment, as you know, and a number of them have actually raised capital. A number of them have acquired the equipment. A number of them have got the skills that they need to actually participate in this project. So what we need to do is to see how we benefit more from what we have. So as I said, the international business requires international standards. So nobody is going to give you business because you're Ugandan or you're Tanzanian. They'll give you business because you're qualified. So this is what we are doing. As PSFU, we've worked so much in investing in the skilling of the people in the oil sector. We are also helping and working with those people who want to invest in the oil sector to elaborate their investments and look for the various financing that they require to actually be able to participate. And today we are also looking at partnerships that business people in Uganda can actually enter into to be able to participate in the oil business.
I know that time seems not to be our best friend. What's your final appeal before I let you go, Idi?
What I appeal to fellow Ugandans, business people, is that we've waited for long. This is the time to take our share from the oil investments. So this is the time for you to look for partnerships so that you are able. This is the time for you to look for the tenders so that you can be able to participate. This is the time for you to raise the finance that you need. And this is the time for you to show what you can do so that you can get the business and be able to contribute to the oil story in Uganda. Who knows? It might be the game changer in your business, just like it is likely to be the game changer in our economy.
Mr. Idi, thank you so much, and may God bless you. Thank you for allowing to speak to us. And dear viewers, that is it from the Executive Director of the Private Sector Foundation. Of course, he's given us a detailed preamble of what we are expecting this afternoon. Of course, we know that a team that has come far away from Tanzania has joined us, of course, not for any other reason, but to sign a memorandum of understanding between the private sector of Uganda and the entire country. As a person who has followed up business from every corner of this country, I know that we must get prepared as a private sector to see that we embrace, of course, this wonderful and brilliant opportunity. And of course, I know some of us who have been following, of course, the Vision 2040, we know that one of the key tenets that are going to lead us to the vision, to the attainment of Vision 2040 is the oil and gas sector. We know that the oil and gas sector contributes over 60% to the GDP of this country. So when such an opportunity comes, of course, we expect that much is going to be coming in terms of development, of course, of this country. And I know a team that is already seated in this room will be giving us what they think and how this is going to greatly contribute to the economy of Uganda. I am personally optimistic. I see a team of so many people that are already seated in this room. They will be giving us what they think and the essence of this memorandum of understanding. Honorable His Excellency Dr. Erika Ruhanga, the chairperson of the Private Sector Foundation, is already in the house. Of course, Dr. Simwe, who is in charge of business advocacy at the Private Sector Foundation, is already here. A team of delegation coming far away from, of course, Tanzania, already seated in this place. But I also let you know that this function will not only take place here, but it will also be virtual. And I know we'll be speaking to quite a number of people. That is our dedication, and that's exactly what is going to be happening. Sonko, over to you, of course, as we prepare to hand you over to this function.
Makubia, he's live from the Kampala Serena Hotel, where this particular function is set to take place. That is the launching of the Uganda-Tanzania private sector partnership on oil and gas projects in the country. We are looking forward to the 2040 vision of Uganda, where the oil and gas sector is mainly one of those key sectors that we're focusing on as a country, and to clearly see that the nation is actually well ready to give the employment opportunities that are available in the country for not only the Ugandan though, however, for also the Tanzanians that are there. And of course, that is why we have a team from the Tanzania private sector in the country to clearly see that we do have it. And of course, this particular ceremony that is taking place at the Kampala Serena Hotel will have Mr. Patrick Muhere, who is heading the council, and he will be the chairman that will be addressing first. And of course, you need to stick around with Smart 24. We are definitely going to be giving you, I'm just taking you through the daily program of this particular event. We'll have Honorable Dr. Eli Karuhanga, who is the chairman, Private Sector Foundation in Uganda. And of course, the person you've just seen there is the EDA Executive Director, Dr. Francis Chisirinya, who was giving us a preamble of what we do expect in this particular agreement and why. And of course, if we are to draw back to clearly see how far we've come with this particular segment of the oil and gas sector in Uganda, we do remember the President of Tanzania, Her Excellency Suluhu, was also here in the country to actually talk about this particular issue with the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And of course, signing of the memorandum will actually, that is the memorandum of understanding, will be between the PSFU, USMP, and ATOGS. As the person who has actually graced this event, the main speaker, who is going to be the chief guest of this particular event, is His Excellency Dr. Aziz Ponari Mima. Yes, Dr. Aziz Ponari Mima, the Tanzanian High Commission to Uganda, or the ambassador to Uganda. Now, if I'm to take you back to a preamble of the oil and gas sector in Uganda, where in Uganda is the petroleum actually taking place. We've all been having all these theories of saying Hoima, the oil city, definitely. And of course, Hoima, which is in the Albertine region, and that is where oil and gas exploration in Uganda is actually taking place. That is in the Albertine region, in the region of Graben. Now, the Graben is part of the East African Rift system of the Rift Valley, and it actually runs along Uganda's western border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. And if you're to focus more, the Graben is approximately 500 kilometers long, averaging 45 kilometers in width and 23,000 square kilometers in Uganda. Just if you'll excuse me, that is how we're just taking a look at how far is Uganda coming up with the oil and gas sector before we even go into that. And what is the let's have a look at now the petroleum value chain and what it means to the country like Uganda. First, the petroleum value chain is a series of activities steering from exploring for oil to consumption of petroleum products. Now, the petroleum value chain has three major phases, namely upstream, midstream, and downstream. Now we're actually looking at the phases of the petroleum value chain. Remember, this particular segment, this particular conference that is happening at the Kampala Serena Hotel is to actually mitigate the possibilities for the Ugandans and the Tanzanians in terms of the oil and gas sector, because clearly you would see that we will be exporting, we will actually be exporting this oil from the Albertine region through the pipeline, if you could say pipeline transport, and then we pass it through to Tanzania till the port of Dar es Salaam. To break it down for you, Private Sector Foundation in Tanzania wamu ne Uganda bagenda kusigninga memorandum of understanding. Waliwo agreement bagenda okusigninga olunaku olwaleero okulaba nga benefiting ensi zombi. Zino zensonga lwaki President wa Tanzania abadde yakolako a visit to Uganda after she had actually, after ngamaze okusikira President omugenzi the late Pombe Magufuli, oluvannyuma olwo President yajja Suluhu nayingira eggwanga ne basinkana ne president w'eggwanga lino Yoweri Kaguta Museveni nga bagezaako okulaba nti bakwasaganya ensonga ya oil ne gas sector mu ggwanga lino era ng'ensonga lwaki olunaku lwaleero tuli live okuva tugenda batusaako agreements zino ne event eno nga bwetambula okuva Kampala Serena Hotel nga tukuleetera biki bye tusuubire. Tusookera ddala tusuubira okulaba nti abannayuganda baganyulwa mu nsonga ya oil and gas. Tutunuulidde vision ya 2 as that particular year, because as a country tutunuulidde nti by 2040 eggwanga lirina we ligenda okuba nga lituuse. Ekisookera ddala tusuubira okulaba nga oil ono ayamba si ggwanga lyokka in terms of development, but also tugenda batulaba nti waliwo employment opportunities for the Ugandans and also increasing our exports in terms of that. And of course now let's try to see, when did Uganda confirm commercial oil and gas resources, before we actually head back to the Kampala Serena Hotel where Fred Makubia is with the whole team, with the wonderful team of Smart 24 to clearly give you a wide coverage of this particular event. And Uganda did confirm commercial petroleum resources in 2006. That is far how we've actually come on board. But now we are set to see that the gas and oil sector in Uganda is actually becoming that a key important aspect in Uganda's economy. Let's first head back to Fred Makubia just as we head into this particular event, as we are launching the Tanzania private sector partnership of the oil and gas projects. Back to you, Fred Makubia.
Please, Richard.
Good afternoon, distinguished guest. Richard Kabonero, High Commissioner of Uganda to the United Republic of Tanzania. Good to be here.
Thank you very much. Our distinguished speakers will come on later, but I'm
ready.
Oh yes, Honorable, please come on. Just greet the people.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. The Honorable PS, distinguished Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, Chairman of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, and all colleagues here. My name is Eric Aruhanga, I'm Chairman Private Sector Foundation, and I want to welcome our colleagues from Tanzania who are in attendance, and to welcome our brother Abdul Samad Abdurrahim for being a good pathfinder and provoking us to start this conference, this preparatory meeting for the future cooperation of our two businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Eric Aruhanga. And for those of you who may not know, he's also the past chairman and president of the Chamber of Mines, and his guidance and leadership has been phenomenal. So without much ado, I think Catherine, like we said earlier in the beginning, this is a very important meeting. I don't know whether you have any remarks to make, and then we jump straight into the program. We have many people online. Kindly, because of time, I see very many people registered. We are in the double digits of numbers. If you could just use the chat platform, the dashboard, to write your name and your contacts, and then at the end of the event we shall have a small photo shoot which our IT team will take. But for me, you're welcome again. I don't want to waste any much time. Catherine, do we have anything else to announce? And then we go straight into the presentation.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Not in a way, just maybe to recognize His Excellency Dr. Aziz Konare in his absentia. He's meant to be here still in his work, but we hope he'll be able to make it. Dr. Aziz Konare is the High Commissioner of Tanzania to Uganda, and he'll be joining us.
Fantastic. Again, we don't want to water down this oil and gas event, and so without much ado, we'll now request Dr. Eric Aruhanga, Honorable, Chairman of Private Sector Foundation, to give us his remarks and basically bless this event for the attention of the all of you here. But just as a part of introduction, Dr. Eric Aruhanga is the current chairperson of the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda. He has served on literally all the most powerful boards of private sector companies in Uganda, in East Africa, and globally. He's a lawyer of repute. He's been a former member of parliament, and his contribution in this country's legislature is phenomenal. He's a man of vast experience. He's a pioneer, he's a pathfinder, he's a trailblazer. And so it is with much pleasure that I introduce him to you, because what he's going to tell us is going to shape not just the initiative of the industry, but the course of history, and the people of East Africa will certainly benefit from his vast experience, knowledge, and impact. So without much ado, Honorable Eli Karhanga, the floor is yours to greet, but also present your paper. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, you are not unmuting me. I was trying my best to get to you, but you are not unmuting me.
We can hear you, Honorable. No. Please come on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, give me a minute, guys. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. You keep on muting me and unmuting me. I don't know why.
Your Honorable Eli, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Your Excellency Dr. Aziz Meima, the Tanzanian High Commissioner, Your Excellency Mr. Richard Kabonero, our High Commissioner of Tanzania, Madam and our brand new Permanent Secretary, Madam Irene Matepe, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, our brother from Tanzania, whom I described as a pathfinder who came to Uganda to provoke us to do this work and to get together, Mr. Abdulsamad Abdurrahim, Chairman of the Association of Tanzanian Oil and Gas Suppliers, ATOGOS, our brother, Mr. Francis Mwehire, the Chairman of Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, and colleagues, the Acting Executive Director of Private Sector Foundation, Mr. Francis Kisirinya, who is being represented by Mr. Stephen Asimwe, our MC, Madam Catherine Wabomba, the CEO of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, colleagues, directors, and boards of trustees of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, colleagues, directors, and management of Uganda Private Sector Foundation, our business colleagues from Tanzania, members of the international community who are attending this in the oil and gas sector and energy. So on behalf of the Uganda's Private Sector Foundation, and of course on my own behalf, I'm delighted to be in this fast tracking event, the initiative of which is to bring the private sector partnership between Ugandans and Tanzanians to work together to make sure that we exploit this oil and gas that we have mastered now in Uganda, but also soon the gas resources that are available in Tanzania that we want in the hinterland. And so this is the beginning of a great journey, the beginning of a journey that creates economic and diplomacy, and that's why we are involving you, Your Excellencies, in this preparatory meeting for us to be able to organize a big get-together conference, to think together, to grow together, to partnership with our brothers and sisters in the two countries of Uganda and Tanzania, and in fact in the entire region of West Africa and beyond, with our international investors participating in this event, because it is so big to be carried on by ourselves. Private Sector Foundation and the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum continue to spearhead these efforts that are geared towards spotlighting enormous opportunities that will come with oil and gas projects in Uganda. Without doubt, this is the only generation that will take opportunity in this venture, because we are the ones going to do the construction, the building, the laying of the pipeline, the building of the central processing facilities, the building of the industrial park, the building of the central storage facilities, the palm tanks, both at Tanga and in Kabale and in other places. The involvement of the entire oil and gas services sector is going to be brought in one period of time, in one decade, in fact shorter than a decade, that we shall have an expected 20 billion or so dollars to be invested in oil and gas in Uganda. And that investment goes only to private sector. The government will invest in the pipeline together with oil companies, but all of it will be carried out and positions will be done by private sector. Now, government has finished doing all the agreements, the two governments. Now it's private sector to implement this opportunity. So this is a lifetime generational advantage of which will produce enormous, incredible opportunities. You know, for example, this opportunity will increase our GDP by 22% by the end of the construction phase, and will employ more than 15,000 people directly and 45,000 people indirectly. Also, during the construction phase, the East African crude oil pipeline project alone is expected to increase foreign direct investment in Uganda and in Tanzania by 60%. Just think about it, by this generation. So, preparing ourselves to meet this opportunity now is a timely event. And we know this is one of those opportunities which require high capital intensive partnerships, form joint ventures between our local companies with multinational investors. This engagement is inevitable. So we need to excite ourselves, create these associations. So when the associations of oil and gas in Tanzania, different associations, private sector association, Tanzanian Oil and Gas Service Providers group, led by Abdul Zaman, Ibrahim, and the Tanzanian Authority, Tanzanian's Petroleum Authority, all these, the government of Tanzania, and our own organizations here in Uganda. We need to get this clearly understood, and we need to know how to protect this investment. I keep on saying that, as you all know, capital is a coward. It will fly away to better places where it is not intimidated. So both ourselves as private sector, once we sign agreements with international investors to come to our countries, we better make sure that these investors are not intimidated to run away by our misbehavior or misconduct. Likewise, we need to do proper due diligence to make sure that whoever is coming to invest in our country is probably understood, is understood properly. We don't get, conmen and flights by night and people who come, claiming to be this, that, when they are not what they say they are. So we need to work together as Tanzanian business people and the Ugandan business people to help our government to get genuine investors and to make sure that once they come and they are genuine, the agreements are done properly, the lawyers do their job in an honest and good manner, the partners whom they team up with continue to work together, and so that the infrastructure of our country can be set up and then oil can flow for the benefit of the future society. Both our governments, we need to clap for them. They have invested heavily. The leadership of President Museveni and the leadership of the late President Magufuli and the new President of Tanzania have done an outstanding and commendable job. I mean, it is beyond our wildest expectation that such a feat can be achieved in such a short amount of time, to be able to give us what they have been able to deliver. But the parliaments of the two countries have worked tirelessly to make sure that our laws are in place, and the ministries which are implementing this project, especially the Ministries of Energy, I mean, they have done an incredible amount of soul searching. They have burnt the midnight oilers, so to speak, to be able to bring this incredible project to our laps, we private sector foundation. So when I see the Permanent Secretary Honorable Batebe in front of us, attending this meeting in person at the conference, knowing how busy, she was even attending a board meeting. She has abandoned it to come and be with us and sit in the conference. I am floored by humility to thank you and to know that with your education and your understanding of the background of our industry and oil, you are second to none. And I want to thank His Excellency the President for giving you the opportunity to lead us and to be, if you like me to say it, to be our lady that can deliver the baby, fast oil. So you have this chance, and I know you will do it. So therefore, I would like to say without any shame that we will not let you down, and that's why we want you to spearhead the leadership of putting us together. I know you have held many meetings with your colleagues in Tanzania. The president has held many meetings. We business people have not had this opportunity to work together. But this today is the kickoff. The flag is waved. I was on my way to attend this meeting physically, and then I was diverted by another meeting, which was as important, with big delegations coming into Uganda and requiring attention. So we are in a situation, we are at the cusp of an opportunity that I do not know how to describe it. And I know that many of our people, Ugandans and Tanzanians, have not yet grasped what this opportunity is all about. And I don't want them to miss out and say, oh my God, these people, the Chamber of Mines, have been singing this, the private sector, but we didn't believe them. Please believe us. So I want to thank you. I don't want to speak for long. I believe that our partnership with Tanzanian brothers is significant. I know that we've never had such an opportunity to work together. I was looking at the statistics of our trade between Uganda and Kenya, and between Uganda and South Sudan. And Tanzania and Uganda's trade pales to insignificance if you see the size and the neighborhood and the history that we have with each other. Time has come for us now to kickstart this, wave the flag, and start the race, and be economic winners, and not to be greedy to work together, to make sure that our local content brings local content in real context of local content for Tanzania and Ugandans to exploit this resource together and to benefit from oil and gas industry, to benefit from your leadership in mining, because you Tanzanians, as you hear me, you are ahead of us in mining. Much as we have a lot of mining opportunities, you are ahead of us by far, by miles, and we want to learn from it. We don't have a coast. You have the ocean. We don't have it. We want to come and enjoy the facilities and come tourists and enjoy the facilities of the ocean, and which gives us access to the whole world. So I thank you. I thank you for spending time to be with us. And I know there are many speakers. I have said this all for God and my country. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Honorable Eli Karuhanga. Where you're seated, you may not know this, but there's been a thunderous hand clap from the people seated here at the Serena. Just for purposes of the media and for those of you who are watching online, Dr. Eli Karuhanga is the head of the Private Sector Foundation, which brings together, which is the apex body of all the private sector associations, from the big Uganda Manufacturers Association, oil and gas, ICT, logistics, tourism, trade and commerce, all the big players in the private sector. And right now they are all watching online, and they are very excited about the things that he has raised. So thank you very much, our chairman, and also for the vast experience that you have in oil and gas sector. So thank you very much. Another round of applause. Even those who are online, you can clap. We shall feel you. So without much ado, I have another. Thank you, sir. Without much ado, let me once again, with my colleague Catherine, introduce a very special guest who is going to come on board. He's the General Secretary at the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. He's going to be standing in for the chairperson, Mr. Agre Ashaba. He's also the General Manager at GCC Services, one of the big companies, private sector companies here. He has over 21 years of experience in business development and strategy across East Africa. His company is a leading engineering and construction firm, but he's a very critical and pivotal member of the Chamber of Mines here. He's going to speak on behalf of the chairperson. Welcome with me, Mr. Agre Ashaba, and give us your remarks and the remarks of the institution. Very welcome.
Thank you so much, moderator. First of all, speaking after Chairman Eli is one of the hardest things. You shouldn't be unfortunate to speak after him, but I'll try. First of all, I'd like to bring greetings from the chairman of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, Mr. Patrick Mohire, who couldn't make it today because of other important meetings. I also bring you greetings from the Board of Trustees and the Council and the whole membership of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. For us, I will not do most of the protocols because Chairman Eli has well elaborated them so that we can be able to catch up on time. For us at the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, we are a not-for-profit organization that brings together probably about 300 players in the oil and gas business that promotes, protects and advocates for beneficial mining and oil and gas operations in Uganda, but also works with different stakeholders to make sure that the value retention and the synergies that companies and businesses can benefit from are promoted and they can ultimately grow the economy. I would like to thank, obviously, ATOGS, the Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Suppliers, for initiating this relationship. My friend Abdul Samad, thank you so much for kicking this off. Fortunately, I just returned yesterday from Tanzania on a solo mission, trying to do exactly what we're trying to do here. Trying to register our entity in Tanzania and also to look for different partnerships. But now that this is going to be formalized, I believe also with Madam PS, a lot of the action points that we think that we can work towards in promoting the synergies between Uganda and Tanzania can be formalized and also supported by government. As a chamber, I would like to upload and thank both governments of Uganda and Tanzania for creating a legal framework that enables private sector to sit on the table, like today with the PS, and to be able to look into the future and know that local content is the way to go, and it's the only value that can be able to unlock the potential of both countries. And obviously, when you look at the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, it's about 1,500 kilometers. Only about 500 kilometers are in Uganda, and the rest is in Tanzania. So kicking off this kind of partnership is timely, especially for Ugandan companies, because the bulk of the work is actually going to be operated on the Tanzanian side. So we hope that going forward, our membership can be able to look at most of these synergies and create the partnerships that allow them to not only have the value in Uganda, but it can cross the borders to the other side. Also, obviously, I believe that the PS will be speaking to the fact that how do entities that are going to be participating on the East African Crude Oil Pipeline move goods, services, people, the legalities from Uganda to Tanzania to make sure that they can benefit from the opportunity that the East African Crude Oil Pipeline brings, but without necessarily being carrying the burden of a company probably that is going to be resident, say, in Tanzania or Uganda for 20, 30 years. Maybe some of these companies will be project-based. Maybe some of these resources will be project-based. He's working on a contract, but it needs him to cross borders. Does he have to have work permits in both countries? Does he have to obviously get different visas every time they visit? But probably those small issues, when the two private sector bodies or when the two private sector players sit and then they highlight some of these challenges, probably when we bring them across to the public sector, to the government, to the government of Uganda and that of Tanzania, there could be some of the things that we can work on to improve. The benefit, obviously, for value retention for both countries is that it's about 3.5 billion that will be invested in the crude oil pipeline, and we believe that if we can take up anywhere between 20 to 30%, whatever the consequences or whatever the opportunities that are available, we believe that will be very good value, but also most of it is going to be retained in the country, and businesses that are both in Uganda and those that are in Tanzania, if they have made a profit, then they can reinvest it in other activities that may be non-oil and gas, but activities that will eventually boost the economies of both countries. I would like to thank once again Private Sector Foundation, the Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Suppliers, for making sure that this kicks off. And we also think that for the partnership to go forward, the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum is already initiating a visit to Tanzania to be able to work with the Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Suppliers, EURA, TPDC, and all the people that are involved in this sector to try and enhance and create opportunities for both entities, for both private sectors, to be able to work together and synergize. Instead of competing, they can then be able to leverage each one's strengths to be able to partake part of these opportunities. Obviously, from the side of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, we call upon all our memberships to be alert. I think the CEO will be communicating very soon on when this could be possible, the costs and the partnerships. We will obviously work with our Tanzanian counterparts to make sure that everyone that is important for this project to happen, everyone that is important for these opportunities to open up, will be in the same room, and we can be able to speak business and see how we can take it forward. And lastly, we'd like to thank again the governments of Uganda and the governments of Tanzania for creating an enabling environment. An environment that now tasks private sector to create something that is beneficial for both governments, something that is beneficial for both countries. And we think, Madam PS, we pledge that we will be responsible, we will be able to deliver good work, we will be able to create the synergies that allow the retention that the laws that are put in place intended to. And we believe that if there are any opportunities that allow us to even stretch and maximize, we are more than willing to partake of those opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Agria Shaba. I think we need to give him another round of applause, even for all of you who are in the convenience of your offices, for that very illustrative pledge from the private sector. We have also learned that you went solo, so you didn't tell us the outcome of that discussion. But just to show that people are hungry for opportunities, and that we have a private sector that is fully committed to create jobs, business opportunities, and again, I can see that this meeting is going to have very fruitful outcomes. Thank you very much. And also, sincere thanks to your chair and your board for a great work well done for this. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a brother who has come all the way from Tanzania. He's the co-founder and chairman of the Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Service Providers. He's a highly respected and successful entrepreneur. He's a patron and speaker for various platforms, including investment, trade, and oil and gas conferences. He's also a diplomat, Your Excellency, as the Honorary Consul for Brazil in Zanzibar. He's the chairman of Ocean Business Partners Group, and he served on various boards of directors, including Tanzania Private Sector Foundation, TPSF. That's our sister private sector foundation. So he's a twin brother to Honorable Eli Karhanga. And he's also board of directors for the East African Business Council, which is the apex body of all private sector players of the region. He's also the founder of a flagship annual world-class Tanzania Oil and Gas Congress, which brings together more than 1,000 regional and international delegates and investors around the world. So it's with much pleasure that this country and ourselves today introduce Honorable him. I hope I've pronounced your names very well. If I don't pronounce them well, you will pass a couple of barrels of oil into my account. So, Your Excellency, please, the floor is yours, and welcome to Uganda. Karibu.
Asante sana. Assalamu alaikum. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Greetings from Tanzania. First of all, I would like to thank His Almighty for allowing me to travel all the way to Uganda without having any issue whatsoever, and especially proudly to say that I have come all the way with the Uganda airline. could have taken Kenya, I could have taken Air Tanzania, but I've chose to travel with Uganda to show that we don't just talk, we mean what we say. Equally, I would like to thank His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, I call him Mzee, for really taking the whole trouble and initiative to ensure that this project unites Tanzanians and Uganda. But also to thank Her Excellency Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan, our President of United Republic of Tanzania, for her tremendous effort in the last 6 months of her coming to power. She has tremendously turned things upside down to ensure that this project is a priority. And I think we have seen the result recently. Before I begin, I would like to recognize the presence of some of the delegation who are supposed to come with us today. From the Tanzania part, of course, as you are aware, we had Ambassador Dr. Aziz Bonari, who will join us very shortly. He's traveling from Jinja all the way to come here. But also, I would like to recognize the presence of our board members who have joined online, and this is the ATOG's board members. Equally, to recognize the presence of Paul Koi, the president of Tanzania Chamber of Commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to pay my special thanks to the organizers, particularly to Francis and Kathleen. We have decided to have this meeting at a very short time. It took us only 2 days. And here we are today, Madam Irene. I have to commend these two individuals for making this event happen. So a really round of applause because it takes a long time. On behalf, of course, of the government of Uganda, my fellow Tanzanians sends their habari zao na wanawasalimu sana. I know you are our Tanzanian sister also, because you have lived in Tanzania before, and they sent warm regards. As Chairman Eli said, this is not a forum. This is a preparatory meeting that will enable us to bring the Ugandans and Tanzania. Our goal is simple, and that is to tap into the opportunities that are here today and not tomorrow. Tanzania, as you all know, has abundant opportunities that Uganda have been accessing for many, many years, from extractive industries to cereals, machines. I've been looking at the number to see how much Ugandans have actually imported at a duration of short period from 2020 to this period today. And my figures show the import from Tanzania, Uganda imports from Tanzania equates to $743.68 million. To me, this is nothing. We can trade better, and I know there are a lot that needs to be done to ensure that Uganda and Tanzania trade more. As Honorable Eli said, we have a big opportunity well ahead of us. We have the Ecop pipeline, which is $3.5 billion, but also we have the Tilenga part as well, and the refinery. All this needs a lot of services, from fiber optic to catering to logistics, insurance, and so forth. But we cannot just be sitting and waiting. The government have done their part, And my presence here is to provoke now that it is time now we need to work together, and it is time now that we need to get out of our comfort zone in order to tap into this opportunity. Uganda and Tanzania are very strategic partners, but we know there are some hurdles. There are some issues that need to be regulated. I know there were some issues recently with regards to export of sugar from Tanzania and so forth. We have a problem. We have abundant opportunities. And me coming here to Uganda is to see between Uganda and Tanzania, but not just rhetoric words. If I manage to travel and taking so many COVID tests all the way to come here and the trouble, I could have just stayed home. I could have had virtual, but I said no. Tanzania needs Uganda and Uganda needs Tanzania. So our role here is to really to promote the participation of local individuals and corporate bodies to ensure that they are tapping into these opportunities that are here with us. As you all know, cross-border interaction is becoming increasingly important, especially when we embark on, as Chairman Eli said, we have the Ecop pipeline, but also we have the Tanzania gas pipeline to Kampala. And all these makes an important contribution to the economy. But also, we thought it is also important for us to come here and to join forces to ensure that our people are given opportunities, but also capacity building. I have been talking to numerous of companies in the last 4 days of me coming here, and I understand that there are a lot of competencies issues, and there are also areas where we think Tanzania can also come to a helping hand. Our visit here today is also to encourage Tanzania and Ugandans to bid together. We cannot sit and wait for the foreign companies to take our jobs. We need to sit and bid together for these provision of services that are here today to enable us to access capital as well as the financial assistance from the banks. We are also here to promote public knowledge, awareness, and understanding of obligations, rights, and remedies available in this sector. I had the pleasure to meet Stanbic CEO in the Stanbic Business Incubation the other day, and I'm pleased to announce that Stanbic Business Incubation has officially offered to come to Tanzania to work with us. If it has worked in Uganda, there's no need for us to start again something new. So we will work together. Ladies and gentlemen, but also I wanted to ensure that this visit signals toward empowering and assist our fellow young Ugandans and Tanzania graduates to attain technical proficiency in oil and gas. And in this delegation of mine, I came with a delegation from Tanzania who have set up a technical and manpower, but also technical vocational that will help Ugandans to be able to meet now this international standard, which I know you already have, but when it comes to a very high end, Tanzania do not have that either. So we thought we could come and share our experiences. We do not need to reinvent the wheel. It has worked in Uganda, we will apply in Tanzania. It has worked in Tanzania, we will bring it to Uganda. But most importantly, this event today is the fundamental of our discussion that we have had between both the High Commissioners of Tanzania and Uganda, Ambassador Richard Kabonero and Ambassador of Tanzania, Dr. Aziz Ponari. And now what we want to do is to officiate this Uganda-Tanzania Business Forum that will boost trade, investment, and to ensure business communities, they prosper between the two countries. And we have decided and have taken a number of initiatives, and I'm pleased to announce, I don't know whether I should announce or I should just wait for later, the plan that we have discussed before. Catherine, what are you saying? I break the news or I wait for you?
It's all right, you can go ahead, Abdusaman.
So we are going to sign an MOU today, and I'm pleased to say that. And the good news is both ambassadors of Tanzania and also a High Commissioner of Uganda in Tanzania, we have agreed for this MOU to be signed in Tanzania in the presence of both principals, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, but also Mama Samia Suluhu. So this is a milestone. And this again, the forum in Tanzania, we hope it will now cement not just ROETIC, but also, most importantly, to bring all the players together to ensure that we are successful. Madam Irene, I thought before I finish, I should mention that despite of all the good things that both Uganda and Tanzania have done, and despite of all the investors' preparations for the Ecop as well as Tilenga, there are still some gray areas, especially on the procurement of contracting and procedures that need to be taken into account. But also, I understand, based on the discussions that I have had with both Tanzania and Ugandans business communities, the access to finance, red tape and bureaucracies in finance institutions that needs to be taken care. If we want to see our fellow Ugandans and Tanzanians coming together, there is a need to reform urgently, because there are some international firms that have a quick access to finance, especially from home, that gives 0% on interest rates. They will be taking our jobs if we are not working together. And equally, there are some bottlenecks that needs to be taken into account if we want to see local content, Tanzania and Uganda really striving together. So I just thought I would, Kiswahili tunasema na chomekea. Asanteni sana, and I appreciate for really for the warm reception that I've had in the last 4 days, and I look forward to more visits of other regions. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Abdusamadi, and thank you for being the pathfinder. We really appreciate you taking, leaving the comfort of your home and trying to bridge this gap, because it's something I believe we've all been looking forward to. Next on our agenda, we do have remarks from our Permanent Secretary, Ms. Irene Batebe. Ms. Irene Batebe is the current Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development in Uganda. She has worked in the Ministry of Energy for 15 years in the Energy Resources Department as a chemical engineer. She has also been handling the planning and development of pipelines, the oil refinery, the storage facilities, and she has led the negotiation teams to key agreements. She was one of the founding members for the inaugural board for the Uganda National Oil Company, and she's currently serving her second term on the board. Incidentally, Ms. Batebe did her chemical process engineering bachelor's degree from the University of Dar es Salaam, and she did her advanced chemical engineering majoring in refinery design and operations from the University of Manchester. So we believe we are in safe hands as Uganda and Tanzania having, if I can call her Mama Irene, to hold our hands, especially as we look at these opportunities and how we can retain value in the region. Irene, you're most welcome, and now the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, our Ambassador, Richard Kabonero, the Uganda High Commissioner to Tanzania, Your Excellency Dr. Aziz Mulima, I know he's on the way from Jinja, the Tanzanian High Commissioner to Uganda.
Irene, your microphone.
The Chairman of the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, Honorable Dr. Eli Karuhanga, the representative of the Chairman of Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, Mr. Agri Ashaba, and of course my brother, Honorable Abdul Samad Abdul Rahim, Chairman of the Tanzania Oil and Gas Association. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, good afternoon. Yes, first I want to thank the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum of Uganda for inviting me to speak at this important launch of the partnership between the Uganda Chamber of Mines, Private Sector Foundation Uganda, and our dear brothers from the Republic of Tanzania, the Tanzania Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Service Providers. I would also want to thank Honorable Abdul Samad for being the pathfinder. In Swahili we say hongera sana. Hongera sana, thank you for setting the pace and for ensuring that you're creating a linkage between the government of Uganda and the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. As we are all aware, the oil and gas sector in Uganda is progressing steadily, as witnessed by the signing of the key agreements and the launch of the petroleum projects in April 2021, which event was presided over by the two presidents of the Republic of Uganda and the United Republic of Tanzania. And that particular launch was meant to kickstart the next stage of the planning for the upstream Kingfisher Development Project and the Tilenga project, together with the East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline. But we do have other projects that we are working on, including the refinery. And combined, we are looking at a total investment of US dollars between 15 to 20 billion in these projects, and that speaks to the vastness or the enormity of the opportunity that we are looking at as the private sector investors. My brother has already highlighted another project that we are working on closely with the government of the Republic of Tanzania, which will be a natural gas pipeline that will run all the way from Dar es Salaam and at some point join the route along the East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline, starting its journey into Uganda. So we continue to work on that with the government of the Republic of Tanzania. We've entered a memorandum of understanding, and we are preparing to start some discussions regarding the feasibility study that we intend to undertake for that natural gas pipeline. That pipeline will be critical to supply gas to support our iron and steel industry, to ensure that we are adding value to our iron ore in Uganda. But in addition, it will go to alleviate a problem that we are facing of deforestation, where we continue to rely on over 80% biomass as a country. So we'll be looking at the possibility of using some of that gas for domestic supply of gas. And of course industrial, where we will be seeking to replace heavy fuel oil for some industries with cleaner gas and address the challenges of climate change. So coming back to the oil and gas project that is specific to Uganda, the oil companies have now embarked on the procurement of goods and services, which presents an opportunity for the members, not just in Uganda, but the Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Service Providers, to partake of these vast opportunities that are becoming available. And for Uganda, national content and its promotion remains core to our planning and development of the oil and gas industry. So the government of Uganda has always made it very clear that participation of Ugandans in the oil and gas sector through employment and provisions of goods and services is the sure way to ensure that the benefits of the sector are spread to all Ugandans, and that we are creating lasting value. So we are glad to also hear that Tanzania shares the same aspiration and is now seeking to enter a partnership with Uganda at the different levels, with Uganda Chamber of Mines, but also the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda. I think that is a very good partnership that we will be encouraging and supporting as the government. So for this particular paper, I was asked to highlight the policy provisions for local content along the East Africa crude oil pipeline specifically. And it is important that I do highlight that following the agreements that we entered into with the government of Tanzania, specifically the intergovernmental agreement that gives a framework for the implementation of the East Africa crude oil pipeline. We did also enter other agreements, including the host government agreement and specifically a shareholders agreement for the shareholders in the project, including the Uganda National Oil Company and Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation. So our target as government in the ECOP, among other priorities, is to ensure that Ugandans and Tanzanians are participating in that project and optimally. So what have we done in this regard? In the different agreements, we do have a number of provisions that are supposed to enable the effective participation through ensuring freedom of movement of goods and personnel. So those details are enshrined in the agreements and will be implemented as part of the project development. Today, we are boasting of about 273 people employed in the oil and gas sector, with about 70% being Ugandans at about 202. But we expect that these numbers are going to skyrocket as we enter the construction phase, where we shall be looking to target about 15,000 Ugandans directly employed and about 45,000 indirectly employed, and this has been emphasized by Honorable Dr. Karuhanga. So our target as the government, we do have pillars that we've set in place that will enable us drive the national content agenda, and we will be, through the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, monitoring how we are achieving our targets. So the key areas that we are focusing on as part of the national content development will be to ensure priority for Ugandan and Tanzanian goods and services during procurement, and that is enshrined in the agreements and even the consequent enabling legislation that we seek to put in place. The other key area, we've ensured that we have reserved contracts for certain goods and services to be provided by Ugandan and Tanzanian companies, and those have to be registered entities across board within Uganda and Tanzania. So we have about 16 goods and services that have been ring-fenced, where Ugandans and Tanzanians have priority for goods and service provision. And national content in our agreements is determined whether it's a Tanzanian in Uganda or a Ugandan in Tanzania, we go to assess that as national content. So it is all assessed as national content. So it's not purely Uganda in Uganda or Tanzanian in Tanzania. It is across the border, given that this is an integrated pipeline. The other aspect that we are looking at for the ECOP is to ensure that the required quality, health, safety, environmental, technical, and other standards for goods and services are procured within the two countries, because we do have the capacity and the personnel. The other pillar that we are working on as the government is supplier development for Ugandan and Tanzanian companies, registered entities, and citizens. And the Stanbic Incubator project is a good example, and it was good to hear that the same model is being transposed to Tanzania. So we should continue supporting the private sector to ensure that we are developing the capacity of Ugandans and Tanzanians, and therefore the associated companies. The other key area is the plan for employment and training of Ugandans and Tanzanians, and it was good to hear that as part of your plan, Honorable Abdul Samad, you are looking at encouraging young graduates and developing their capacity to join the oil and gas industry. For us, that is extremely critical because of our unemployment today, where over 70% of Ugandans are youth, and we need to look for creative ways of ensuring that they are employed and that they are gainfully employed. It's not enough for them to sweep the floors. We want them to be in positions that foster their career development. So we will be looking to see how that partnership with the vocational training will be fostered. I know that we do have a number of vocational training institutions that you can partner with in Uganda to ensure that that effort is progressed. The other one, which ties in well with your effort, is we ensure that we are giving the right support to Ugandan and Tanzanian training institutions as enshrined in the Ecop agreement. So that will be another pillar that we assess. The other one specifically is implementation of the plan for recruitment and training of Ugandan and Tanzanian citizens, not just having a plan, but ensuring that it is implemented. And these were separated for that purpose, so that they are assessed on their own merit. You have a plan, great, but how are you implementing the plan? So those are basically the key principles for national content in the East Africa crude oil pipeline structure as enshrined in the agreements. So you will recall that the IGA, the Intergovernmental Agreement, and the Host Government Agreement recognize the cross-border and integrated nature of the Ecop, and as such, in the two HGAs, we require that the project company develops national content plans for the construction and operation phase in accordance with the cross-border nature of the project. So the Ecop company is required to submit to both the government in Tanzania but also in Uganda their national content plans, and those will be approved to ensure that they are meeting our key targets in the national content agenda. The other aspect, of course, in the host government agreements, we do provide that where Ugandans or Ugandan companies provide goods or services in Tanzania, or are recruited or trained in Tanzania, or are recipient of technology transfer in Tanzania, such goods and services shall be considered as part of the project company's contribution to national content in Uganda. So in a similar way, that is mirrored when you go to Tanzania. So whenever they provide these goods and services, they will be accorded as a fulfillment to the national content agenda. So that is how we ensured that the integrated nature of the Ecop is addressed in terms of national content. So the HGA therefore provides an incentive for the Ecop project to procure goods and services from joint ventures between Ugandan and Tanzanian companies, as these count to the national content contribution in both states. So meaning the partnership you're entering into aligns very well with what we envisaged in the host government agreement, and by joint venture partnering, you are meeting our requirement for national content as enshrined in the host government agreement. The other one that we really want to emphasize and encourage is for Ugandan and Tanzanian companies to enter into joint ventures to leverage the favorable regime provided under the Ecop project. So in the coming days, we do have a bill that is going to Parliament. Once it's made into law, enacted into law, it will be good that you study it to understand how it goes to support national content development, because in that enabling legislation, we do cater for all these areas that were provided for in the agreements. So that bill, once it becomes law, will be very critical to your work. Of course, on our side, we will continue to support the private sector in several ways, but key among those will be to ensure that whenever project authorizations are required, permitting, certain approvals, we will be there to coordinate and collaborate to ensure that they are got in a timely manner. The other aspect that we will be focusing on is, of course, funding, and you've highlighted that as a challenge. In our local content policy, we did envisage this challenge, and we provided for creation of a local content fund to support the local enterprises. We are working with Ministry of Finance in Uganda to see how we can jumpstart this effort and ensuring that it sits well within our existing structures and that we are able to provide support in terms of funding for the local entities. Overall, our role as the government, we will be here to ensure that we support you, but also where you need any area clarified in the law, in the regulations, we will be available to provide that support. Otherwise, our target as the government is to really ensure we maximize local content in our oil and gas project. I therefore, once again, want to congratulate the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, the Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Service Providers for this timely partnership. And we wish you the very best from the government and specifically the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. And we will be here to walk that journey with you to ensure you meet your objectives. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bateve. I'm sure many of us who are joining have got so many answers to the many questions that have been lingering on their mind. Thank you for clarifying on the provisions, and of course, we thank the government for that commitment to ensure that we are retaining value from the Ecop project and of course the other projects in the oil and gas. So we can't thank you enough, really. I'm sure those online, if it was possible, do a standing ovation, because really you deserve that, and thank you so much for that. We do have, just not to lock out our members of the three organizations that are joining us online, we'll just give quickly a chance to maybe one or two people to quickly give their remarks, give their reactions, give what they expect from a partnership like this. We already have government commitment, and now it's time for us, the private sector, to also now match up the government efforts. And I think quickly we will give Paul Kavuma, if you're on. I know you've already expressed interest to say what you expect of this. So we'll give you 1 or 2 minutes to give your remarks, and then after Paul, we'll have Mr. Mahmoud, the MD of East Global Logistics Kenya, to also come in briefly 1 or 2 minutes, and then we can wrap it up. Paul, over to you. Paul is still muted. IT.
Thank you very much, Council, for this opportunity, and I'll quickly extend my appreciation to both the Chairman of PSFU, Dr. Eddie Sterling Job, and our Chairman of the Chambers, Patrick. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and of course to you, Kathy and Stephen, for putting this together. Of course, we must commend our visitors from Tanzania that have really drawn insights into this, and the PS has given a very huge endorsement to local content. I represent the insurance sector as the CEO of the Uganda Insurance Association, who are the risk carriers, and of course we have close collaboration within our own internal industry as stakeholders, where we work closely with the regulator, the brokers and the agents, and of course our ITC. For purposes of this discussion, I think we must commend ourselves that putting focus onto the Ecop, which is a pipeline as our main focus. We as insurers started way in advance, for the last 10 years. And actually what is mutating into a relationship now, I think we can pride ourselves with the fact that we have already gained some fruition into this one. I can say that of course we have different jurisdictions, but we, to a very good extent with the championship of our regulator, did harmonize our regulatory environment between Tanzania and ourselves in Uganda. And we arrived with the proportionate share of the pipeline, despite the reverse, in the Tanzania could easily hold about 25% and Uganda 25%. We mutually agreed that whereas it could be a Uganda project, Tanzania will again issue policies in proportionate to our shares. And we also mutually agreed that we will issue one policy, that mirrors both territories. So in full recognition of our efforts as insurers, we constituted ourselves into a consortium, which renders all members of the insurance sector eligible to participate into providing this service. And I can guide ourselves to the fact that even in the discussions that we had with Tanzania, we replicated the same model to them to adopt. Tanzania, for all intents and purposes, recognized the national company of Tanzania as a risk carrier for all government assets and projects. And of course, we also recognize TANZANIA, which is Tanzania insurer, as a national security carrier. So in Uganda, likewise, we have the consortium, which is insurance consortium for oil and gas in Uganda, working alongside Uganda as the consortium manager. And the field has been even well, the brokers as well have come on board, with the IOCs presenting bids for them to tender the documents, and I can see that we're going to have a full participation. The primary objective from both territories, I think, has been to ensure that we do a lot of risk retention. And we can't thank the PS any more than have full endorsements to see that government is going to support us on this. And we can assure, our colleagues in Tanzania that we are ready to participate and cooperate on this fully. And I want to take this as, a personal commendation to Dr. Eddie, who encouraged all and gas suppliers to get together. And I think as insurers, we picked the cue and did this right from the word go. And I think we presented ourselves well in terms of trying to see that we maximize to the greatest extent possible that we localize our capacity and use it fully. So thank you very much for this initiative, and I think it will take us nowhere. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much, and thank you for taking that mantle of trying to establish partnerships and synergies, because that's one of the sure ways that we know that we shall be able to deliver on this contract. Next is Mr. Virgil Mahut, the MD of East Global Logistics Kenya. Just quickly 1 minute to talk about your expectations, and then we can go to the next item. Unmute your mic, please.
Yeah. Hello. A big thank you to Uganda Chamber of Commerce, Honorable Dr. Ali, and the entire team for bringing this valuable conference in place. I basically enrolled in logistics. We handle project logistics from the Port of Mombasa and also Dar es Salaam. And I don't want to take much of my time on this. Just a quick briefing. This particular project is one of a kind. It's never happened before within the region, entire region. And it involves huge volumes of cargo, huge bonds, huge trucking capacities, huge storage capacities, and we all know the challenges which would be faced within the region. I mean, we're thankful to the government of Uganda and to the President and the President of Tanzania for bringing everything on board and trying to streamline, but there are certain issues which need to be highlighted still, which means the smooth clearance, the transition of clearance of Uganda-bound cargo from Tanzania for Ecop and into Uganda and for local consumption in Tanzania. And I think most of the challenges are pertaining to logistics, the interhandling of cargo, because when vessels come in and you don't discharge them on time, then you have hidden costs pertaining to vessel damages. If you put the cargo on the ground, because the port facilitates trade for other organization clients, the chances of damages to that cargo are quite immense. And I think that has to be looked in for the government of Tanzania now to award transit goods licenses for these projects for specified yards near the port to allow for quicker storage and discharge operations while the documentation is being done for cargo movement to the requisite sites. I mean, 70% of the consumption of the Eco pipeline is going to be within the Tanzanian borders. and then 30% is going to be on the Ugandan side. And if the logistics is managed well with the assistance of the TRA, Tanzania Revenue Authority, and the Uganda Revenue Authorities, I think success would be inevitable. Yeah. There is also a need for specialized trucking, which at the moment has not been there as per the requirements of Ecop and Total, which are quite stringent. There is also training required within the logistics sector in a manner of handling such pipes and such equipment, which has never been done before. And I think with the requisite JVs coming in place between both countries, the scope of works can be handled properly, and with an open forum with the regulators and the port authorities, both the countries can achieve the milestones which have been laid out. Okay, the other issue is the Mutukula border posts and all, and we also face the same problem from the Malaba border post, the congestions at the borders and quick clearance of cargo so that it moves sequentially from the port to the sites as required within the time frames required. And I think the logistics professionals will have to then come in with URA and TRA and the port authorities to make sure there is streamlining which needs to be done, basically. Yeah. I thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak up, and I think there's a lot of more of such forums required to come and gather information and desecrate it, ensure that, you know, the regulators understand the scope of work and the repercussions involved with delays in such a mega project, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bwana Kuba. We are fast closing now. This is a timed event. The journalists have to go back and feature these stories. Before I forget, I want to thank the media so much for having come here to grace, but also to cover this event. It's very critical that Ugandans and Tanzanians hear and see and seek these opportunities. It's very, very critical that as much content as possible is featured on our TVs, on our radios, on our social media platforms. So we thank the media. You are a very, very critical part in this discussion. To the extent that you cover this event is the extent that you go deep and create opportunities and businesses for our countries. We must close now, but it's very, very important that we give at least a minute to His Excellency Mr. Richard Kabonero, our High Commissioner, for Uganda's High Commissioner to Tanzania, to give a quick word and also to give us some preparatory notes as we prepare to come to Dar es Salaam. We thank you, Richard, for having opened the scene and the door for us to come. And after that, after your remarks, we are going to have a very simple event where our Permanent Secretary for Energy and Mineral Development, our visitor, Honorable Abdul Samad, the Chamber of Mines from Uganda, the Private Sector Foundation, will perform a symbolic, we call it e-bonga. So we won't sign anywhere, but we shall perform a very simple event which will cement the planned, of course they've been ongoing, but the planned events that we are going to have, so that our people see that we are very serious. And the media, whom I trust very much, are going to give this very good coverage. So without much ado, Honorable His Excellency Richard Kabonero, please just give your quick remarks, and then we shall have this event launched. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And in the interest of time, will forgive me not to go into all the protocol. However, I want to really thank the dignitaries, but in particular, to thank my colleague, Ambassador Mlima, the PS, Engineer Batebe, the chairman, Honorable Dr. Eli Karuhanga, PSFU, Ms. Catherine Wabomba, and of course my brother from here, Abdul Samad, for organizing this. We have received our instructions for us in the public sector. Engineer Vatebe, the PS, spoke for all of us. All we wait for is the date for you to come here. We are the beachhead. We shall try and facilitate the private sector as much as we can so that you can do your work, and we help in navigating officialdom. We are delighted about the National Content Development Bill. Ours is to see that the laws in both countries are aligned to help our private sector do their job. So I really want to, Chairman Karanga thanked everybody, but we know that the work he has put in when he was still at the Chamber of Mines and now the apex body, and all of you, Stephen and your colleagues at PSFU, I know we'll be working very hard in the coming months to put together this important event in Dar es Salaam. Thank you very much.
Excellency Kabonero, there's been lots of hands of applause here for that statement, but allow me, as we close with my colleague Catherine, to thank very, very much our Permanent Secretary, Irene. Irene, from the CV here, it seems you did a lot of spying work while you...
And those are some of the scenes that are actually happening on the ground at Kampala Serena Hotel, and you can clearly see that as the country is waiting to see that we tap into the oil and gas sector in the country, and clearly you would understand the fact as to why the government is actually pulling off with all these innovation, with all these initiatives to clearly see that we get into talks with that. Now, clearly, if I'm to give you a quick recap of the main speakers of the day, we did have Mr. Patrick Muhere, the council chairman, who was actually addressing the first status before Honorable Dr. Eli Karuhanga, the chairman of the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda, did have to say some of the things as well. And clearly, if we are to also take a look at what Ms. Irene Batebe, Permanent Secretary, had to say, and in regards to what we do expect, that is from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. That is the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Irene Batebe, the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. She had actually come out and said of, first of all, the employment opportunities that are there. But if you're to closely look at this, is that we are widening a gap to see that if the Tanzanians are going to mainly benefit from, let me say, the regional markets and the available channels where this particular pipeline is going to be passing. Because remember, this particular initiative is to tap into the oil and gas sector. First of all, as you may well know, that oil, if at all we are to export oil, we have to use the pipeline transport, and one of which the channels that are quite available are those in Tanzania. And if we are to, if oil has to be traveled from Hoima down to Tanzania, those are some of the routes that are supposed to be used. And clearly, in looking at an opportunity of employment opportunities, one for the Ugandans who are living in the district of Hoima, the Albertine region, and also Tanzanians in the areas where these particular pipes are going to be passing through, and also those that will be at the refineries, the different refineries in Dar es Salaam. And clearly, the just concluded one was His Excellency Dr. Aziz Ponari, Mima Tanzania and High Commissioner to Uganda. He was actually addressing the congregation via Zoom. He was not there in attendance. And clearly, he did mention of the fact that Tanzania as a nation is well happy and is actually receiving this with a welcoming hand, clearly because of the business that is going to be portrayed on board between the two countries, and as well as opening up opportunities, clear opportunities for anyone out there, not only Ugandans but also the Tanzanians. And if we have to look at how far Uganda has actually come about in regards to oil and gas, how much oil has been discovered in Uganda, with an estimated resources in the country that have increased from 300 million barrels way back in 2006 to 2 billion and 3.5 billion barrels in 2010 and 2012 respectively. As at June 2016, the discovered resources in the country were estimated to 6.5 million barrels of oil equivalent, in place with about 1.4 to 1.7 billion barrels to those resources available. And if we are to continue following up on this particular one barrel is equivalent to 159 liters of oil. The area expired presently represents less than 40% of the total area with the potential petroleum production in the Albertine Graben. And clearly, first of all, let's first do a simple understanding of this particular, a general breakdown of this. The country is launching the Tanzanian private sector partnership on oil and gas projects. Earlier this year, we did see the president of Tanzania, of the Republic of Tanzania, coming through the country, making a visit to the president of Uganda, and clearly setting on board agreements and as well as things that we need to follow in regards to seeing that the oil and gas sector is prevailing and of more help to the Ugandans, not only the Ugandans, but also to those of Tanzania. And we are looking at the Vision 2040 here, clearly. One, we want to see that if we are tapping into the oil and gas sector, just like countries like Kenya, look at countries like Nigeria. Let me take a very big example of a country like Nigeria that has greatly benefited from the oil and gas sector, and clearly they have been making bigger moves in Nigeria. And if you can actually remember also with Middle East countries, let me say United Arab Emirates, Qatar, most of these particular countries are also benefiting greatly because of the availability of the oil fields in their different countries. And we, as Uganda, setting Vision 2040 as a way that we can benefit from the oil and gas sector. And with this particular agreement that has actually come to pass, is to clearly see that one of the major aspects is to tap into the availability of the opportunities that are there, to see one, that the government is going to improve more in terms of the development, ready market for the oil that is actually going to be extracted from the Albertine region. And then the other aspect is how far are the East African community member states going to benefit from this? More so Tanzania and Uganda. How are the Ugandans going to benefit? Are there employment opportunities for them? Are there employment opportunities for the Tanzanians? Because clearly it's a two-way thing that everyone has to benefit greatly out of the whole incident. That is why agreements like this come together. And the chairman, Mr. Patrick Muheire, the council chairman, did also mention of the fact that the media have actually been playing a very big role in seeing that this information is laid for the people out there. And of course, if you're watching Smart 24 TV, this is clearly what we've been actually showcasing you. It has actually been like roughly 1 and 30 minutes of broadcasting live from the Kampala Serena Hotel. And if you could realize it was one that had the number of members representing from a Zoom meeting. We also did have Honorable Abdul Usmadi Abdul Rahim, and also the chairman from ATOG, and clearly also giving his remarks in regards to, if you were to mention about the key sectors and the key stakeholders in this particular aspect of oil and gas. But one of the questions is how far and what does this particularly mean to the Ugandans? Are we seeing an opportunity as a country to tap into the oil sector? Is there an opportunity for a local Ugandan who is out there pursuing a course at a university in oil and gas to actually tap into the available opportunities there once we are ready to go? And how far is the oil and gas sector in Uganda? How far is the one, because one of the bigger questions is the oil ready for exportation? Is the oil really ready to go? Because since most of the Ugandans have actually been following up on this particular issue in regards to, one, through school they would say Uganda has discovered oil, stories came through even before 2006 stepped in, And if we could actually see, when did Uganda actually confirm the oil and gas sector? Apparently, Uganda confirmed commercial petroleum resources in 2006. If we had to draw back, that would be roughly, 15 years ago. Yes, it could actually be like 15 years ago. And Uganda did actually confirm commercial petroleum resources in 2006, as efforts to find out oil started way back as early as 1920. But in 2006, that is when we officially confirmed the commercial petroleum resources. These efforts led to identification of surfaces of oil and drilling of shallow wells around, as this was also drilled near Butiaba in Bulisa district in 1993. Also in Butiaba in Bulisa district in 1993, there was a potential availability of oil that was actually tapped in, if you're looking at the sources. The initial efforts were not successful in establishing commercial depots of petroleum in the country. Renewed and consistent exploration efforts commenced in 1980s, which culminated into confirmation of commercial petroleum resources in Uganda during 2006, and that is in the Albertine Graben. So first and foremost, we would definitely say, as a country, it is a very big gift to the fact that we are having oil in the country, and of how much impact is it. It is of great impact to if we had to look at an extent, it is on a larger extent, it is mainly helpful to the country, seeing the fact that the future is looming, and we are waiting to see how far we are going to tap into the opportunities that are available. 2006, we commercialized the idea. Now 2021, 15 years later, we are pushing onto an agenda to clearly see that the Tanzanian private sector and our private sector in Uganda come together to push into a partnership to see that the oil and gas sector is beneficial to both Ugandans and those in Tanzania. And in an event which has actually seen key players of Ugandans benefited actually taking part in this exercise, the media taking part, to clearly see that by 2040, you see, when countries come up with visions, Kenya had Vision 2030, and they're also in a movement of different innovations. And one would ask, why is Uganda mainly focusing on Tanzania and living into Kenya? But clearly, we're definitely going to get back onto that particular one, as we're having an interview, an exclusive one, coming up just shortly. We're heading to Fred Makubia, who's live at the Kampala Serena Hotel, as I will be right back to wrap up a little bit. But first, let's head to the Kampala Serena Hotel, where Fred Makubia is, and we see who he has for us this particular moment.
Services by either companies in Uganda or Tanzania. So what this partnership means, we can leverage from the different strengths across the border. It will be easy for companies to partner where they can source for financing. Those that are well endowed financially can partner with those that are technically strong, and then are able to compete favorably for these goods and services. So for us, this partnership aligns very well with our target of ensuring we benefit maximally from the oil and gas resource in Uganda.
Any latest update in this industry, because it seems you're very quiet. What's happening?
Oh, okay. So there's a lot going on. You will recall in April of this year, we launched the oil and gas project. We had key agreements signed that were presided over by the governments or the presidents of the two countries. So where we are at today, in the upstream, that's for Tilenga, we've started preparations for the construction works for Tilenga. And then, of course, we continue to contract different service providers that will be ensuring that the construction is going on and that we are able to start after about 3 to 4 years the operation of the upstream and the East African crude oil pipeline. So there's a lot of work going on in the field in terms of preparing and ensuring that construction can begin. But not only are we seeing progress on the upstream project and East Africa crude oil pipeline, but we're also seeing the refinery progressing, the front-end engineering design, is as good as completed, and we shall be entering the negotiation of the long-term agreements for the refinery that will then get us to the final investment decision for the refinery sometime next year. So there is a lot going on in the background, and we will continue updating the media and the public on the work that we are undertaking.
When should we expect the pipeline, the construction to begin of the pipeline?
Okay, so the target is to ensure by the end of next year some works are beginning, and we should see some work going on next year, by end of year next year.
Madam PS, I know oil might as well is a blessing, but sometimes it can become a curse, like in some of the countries. As government, how prepared are you to handle this project in a manner that will not be a curse?
Yes, thank you. So of course, as government, our very first role after we discovered these commercial crude oil and gas reserves was to ensure that we...
And that particular interview is of Miss Irene Batebe, the permanent secretary from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. Clearly, she has actually noted that by June next year, 2022, and by the end of 2022, works are going to be on board to see that the pipeline is actually taking part, the project is switching off, and by that particular end of the year, then the journey to the oil and gas sector exportation is actually kicking off. So if you're asking yourself questions of we've been seeing all this happening in the country and how far is this going to happen? So these are some of the things you need to understand. One, the project is clearly to see that Tanzania and Uganda, more so the private sectors, actually tapping into the opportunities. The mitigation comes in place and coming into play to see that we as a country are benefiting. But mainly, the Tanzanians should also come into play as benefiting as well. So clearly, why you would see that Ms. Irene Batebe was actually giving information, she's actually addressing some of these particular issues in regards to what the event has been about. We're kind of trying to wrap up of the event because it has actually ended, and what we do expect is that we are definitely going to be following up on this to clearly see that if you are Ugandan and the other person is Tanzanian, or you are part of the East African community, you're inside here, you're having engagements in regards to how far are you going to benefit. This is the opportunity for you, and greatly it is one of those opportunities that you need to actually tap into to see that you get bigger innovations. Katuludzeko mu lulimi olweka. Conference eno ebadde ekwatagana ku private sector ya Tanzania ne Uganda okulaba nga wabaddewo launch ya partnership oba tugambe enkolagana mu oil and gas projects. Wotunuulira nga nkujjukizaako katono president wa Tanzania omukyala Suluhu yajjako wano mu ggwanga n'akyalira president Museveni, yamalamu ennaku eziwerako ennaku nga 3 ku 4 ng'alina ensonga ezimu ku zaamuleeta zaali in terms of business agreement and to see that there is a mitigation clearly. Era twagenda olaba nga ensonga ezimu ku nsonga ezaayogerwako y'ensonga eno ennyingi etuliko nga ekwataganya ne Ecop. Era wotunuulira that is the East African Community Oil and Oil Project, that is the Ecop. Wogitunuuliramu ensonga eyo ogenda okwekanga nti opportunities zino ze baayogerako nti okulaba nti Tanzania ne Uganda bajja basinkana ne bakwatagana wamu, ekisookera ddala okulaba nti Abannayuganda babenefitingamu mu ngeri eno Abatanzania nabo babenefitinge batya. Omunnayuganda wafuna omulimu ono mu Uganda tugambe mu Albertine region, tulabye airport ye Hoima bali mu kuzimba airport mu bitundu ebyo. Omunnayuganda okubenefitingamu ekisookera ddala employment opportunities ziyinza okujja, zisobokera ddala okujja okuyamba Abannayuganda ab'enjawulo. Twogere ku nsonga ne opportunities endala okuli Abatanzania ne business centers pipe zino gye zigenda oyita mu Tanzania. Kadden tutunulire bigger picture eya vision 240 eno ye vision eyo Uganda gyeinanga ffe ng'eggwanga okulaba nti by that time the development ekisookera ddala ebyenfuna by'eggwanga bijja kuba bina we bituuse, ekyokubiri developments mu ggwanga nazo zijja bbaako we zituuse nga tulabira ddala nti eggwanga lisobola okweyimirizaawo mu bitundu ebisinga ate twagala okozesa opportunity nti oil ali mu ggwanga kya bugagga nnyo okulaba nti tukozesa amawanga nga Tanzania ne Kenya agayina costs oba tugambe agayina reach out hands tugambe Port Mombasa Kenya. Now we are looking at Port Dar es Salaam in Tanzania mu nsonga ya diiro eno yennyini okulaba nti we can export through them because remember we don't have and if I am to break it down port eno nga ogenda olaba nti zino port zetwogerako ziyamba okulaba nti to transferring our oil. We use these pipelines to actually transfer our oil before we immediately import to actually export them to the country. So kati zo opportunities ziriwo nti babiliana igwa muna Uganda aliye yalaba TV esawa zino ojja kuba olinako kyoganuddwamu nti tulaba abantu bangi balina basoma courses za oil and gas abantu abamu beebuuza oba wali greatly opportunities weziri era otunuulira permanent secretary Miss Bateebe Irene agenze nayogera n'agamba nti by June next year project ene jabbe etandise era by 2020 nga omwaka gugwako 2022 tujjaba tulaba nti at least tulina olugendo lwetandiseeko nti oluvannyuma lw'entandikwa nti kati sawa zino this has been the focal point of saying that the foundation has been laid, but clearly by the end of 2022 because we are now finalizing with 2021 the project would have kicked off and we would definitely be seeing a platform coming on board to see that Tanzanians and Ugandans are coming into this, because now we are seeing an opportunity to see that the oil and gas sector is leading us into developments, not only to benefit only the Ugandans but also the Tanzanians out there. And of course, for everyone who has actually been keeping us with who has actually been keeping up with us in regards to this particular conference that has been airing live from the Kampala Serena Hotel. Those are some of the key highlights that we've been having in regards to that. We did have His Excellency the Ambassador to Uganda from the Tanzanian High Commission to Uganda, His Excellency Dr. Azizi Ponari Mima, who had actually said this is a very good initiative that the Ugandan government has actually come on board to see that the private sector of Tanzania is actually going to be benefited in the oil and gas sector. And clearly, we hope that it is bringing the aftermath. We would definitely see that the aftermath of this particular conference would bear fruits for Ugandans as we are waiting and to see whether the launching of the Tanzanian private sector partnership on the oil and gas will be laying more and more of fruits for the Ugandan government. And clearly for anyone out there who's interested, greatly interested, because why? One, if we are utilizing the oil in Uganda, it is just like any other country that has actually been utilizing the minerals that they have. We are tapping into opportunities that are actually going to help us gain from all the projects that are there, because we are looking and focusing on the opportunities that come by to see that the economy is going to stabilize. If at all the project is going to kickstart off next year, as we are winding up 2022, that is when we would see these projects starting up as the works will be taking understage. So clearly in the Ministry of Energy and Development, it is a good one, it's a good move that will definitely see that Tanzania, and this is just like a Kickstarter, when it's just like a match. When the referee says it's kickoff time, the ball is actually in the hands of everyone who's actually starting up. So clearly, we do hope this is a journey for Uganda and the journey for the oil and gas sector in the country to see that we do have more benefits of what we do expect from Uganda and what we do expect from such a deal. And of course, for everyone who has actually been joining us, we have actually been having the conference happening live from the Kampala Serena Hotel. That is for the launching of the Tanzanian private sector partnership on oil and gas projects. That was at the Kampala Serena Hotel, and clearly those are some of the things, the key highlights that why, because of the opportunities that are going to be laid on board. We shall definitely be keeping up with this particular issue to give you more of what happens and what we do expect by the time we have already kicked off with this particular launch. And of course, for everyone who has been joining us on Smart 24 TV, thank you very much. And do remember to follow us on Twitter at Smart24TV, Facebook at Smart24TV, on Instagram at Smart24TV. The website is www.smart24tv.com. YouTube, we've actually been streaming as well, and we are still streaming at www.smart24tv space live. If you do want to stream with us on YouTube, do remember to hit the subscription button. And I'm Jerome Paul Sonko, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And someone did remind me I'm Mr. Favorite Guy. Thank you for joining us at Smart24TV. We shall surely be doing this next time. And to everyone, it's a goodbye for now.
Smart24, driving business.